Welcome back to another video. My name is Henrik and today we're going to be looking at the facelift version of the Polestar 2. You can see not much really changed, but one thing did for certainly change, which is going to be the new face, the grille. Previously on the Polestar 2 we did have a different face on here, so we did have like this fake grille, but now we don't have that anymore and it's more designed towards the Polestar 3, which we're also going to take a look at. This is called the Smart Zone, where you can see we have the mid-range radar in here and we also have the front camera to completely fill up the full 360-degree camera. This is pretty cool, and we can also see one thing that we have right here, because this car is fully spec'd out, so it's the most expensive version that you can get of the Polestar 2. It's also the Polestar engineered version, meaning the Polestar with the dual motor, long range edition and the performance package, which is going to set you back a total of 77,609 euros in the exact configuration that we have right here. That is basically it for the whole front. You don't see that much changes, and that's the only design change on the whole Polestar 2 with the facelift version. Where the whole change comes in is the different technology that we have in here. We do have bigger batteries, we do have a different motor and battery layout, as well as a different inverter in here for a total of just a lot more horsepower and Newton meter that you get. Let's go a little bit further to the side, where we can see we do also have the biggest brakes on here. These are not the biggest brakes, the biggest wheels, which are going to be the new 20 inch rims, which are going to feature your cast rims, which is a little bit better than just your light metal rims, because they have a different structure design. They're more versatile, or not versatile, better durability and stuff like that. You can also see that we do have the Polestar engineered upgrade in here, or the performance upgrade, because we have these gold Brembo brakes in here and also this little gold tire pressure cap on there. Then we can also move on further to the side, where we can see we do have down here the Polestar 2 with the 82 kilowatts an hour battery, because that's been upgraded from 78 kilowatts an hour battery and also 350 kilowatts power. That equals to around 476 horsepower, which is quite a lot. So this is the most spec'd out that you can get. The couple of things that did change, for instance, the battery, like I said, 82 is the new highest battery that you can get, and the biggest range that you can get is 655, which you get on the single motor long range, which is going to cost you around 52,690 euros. That's what it starts at. And then the smallest battery didn't get an upgrade. That is still at a 69 kilowatts an hour battery, but they did change the amount that you can charge it to 135 kilowatts instead of 125. And that also got an upgrade in the performance, just like the smallest battery now, or the smallest motor, which is just going to be rear-wheel drive. Instead of front-wheel drive, you now get rear-wheel drive on all versions that have the single motor. And the smallest one that you can get is going to start at 48,990 euros. And that is going to give you 272 horsepower instead of 231, if I'm not totally mistaken, from the previous version, and a big upgrade to the Newton meter of 330. Instead, that is now upgraded to 490, which is a big, massive upgrade. And like I said, you can now charge your battery a little bit faster. The top variant that you can now charge it up to is 205 kilowatts, that we can do with this battery right here. And like I said, the smallest one, 135 instead of 125, which is a nice little upgrade. And you also get a lot more range. Like I said, the biggest one that you can get is the long range single motor, which can give you 655 kilometers of range, which is really a lot. And it really depends. Do you want more range? Do you want the cheapest one, which can start at 48,000? Do you want more performance? Then you can get the long range dual motor with the performance package, what we have right here, which can cost you, or which not going to cost you, but it's going to give you 476 horsepower, which is quite a lot. And if you want all-wheel drive, you can obviously get the all-wheel drive long range or the standard range, which is also fairly nice. If you take on to look on the back, you can see nothing really changed on here. We still have the normal layout with the lights going up on the top, not like on the Polestar 3 where they start on the top and then go down, which is pretty cool. A fairly small rear window if you take a look from the inside, and down here just some plastic, which is actually built fairly nicely in here and just looks good in general, with the white Polestar logo as well. If you take a look at the trunk, that is also a thing that is not so nice. You don't have it on here somewhere, but you actually have to you have to press down here, and then it's going to open automatically, which is nice. In here, 405 liters up to 1,095, right? And then you also get an addition of 90, not 90 liters here, but you can flip this up, and then you get 90 liters in here. If I flip this down, it's going to be easier. Which is also a nice thing. You can most likely put your cables in there or whatever you want, which is good. The loading height is actually fairly high, so it's not going to be the most comfortable to get stuff in here. And you also have a sloped roof, so therefore it's not going to be, that's where you lose most of the space. If that's not enough for you, you can also go into the front. If you look at the front, we do have a front in here, which is nice, so you can put your cables in there and other things. This is going to allow for an extra 32 liters storage space. You have to press down on the, well, you have to pull it up. And there you can see it opens automatically as well, which is nice. And in here you can put your charging cables in there, which is obviously nice because you have a little bit of a frunk. Some electric cars nowadays don't have that. And this is also dual motor, so you still have a frunk in there, which is nice. The front is very luxurious in here in my opinion, because the quality wise, everything is very nice. The side quality, if you take a look at the on the door, we have good quality on the top. Nice little like leather, or not leather, but this like sofa fabric on there, which is cool. And then just further down you have some hard plastic, but that doesn't really intrude into anywhere you touch, which is nice. Generally, the Volvo touch you can definitely see in here. The steering wheel is basically the same. Instead of that, you have the Polestar logo on there. It would have been nicer for the Polestar engineered version. You would have had a little bit of a more sporty steering wheel, which would have been nice. But generally, it's a fairly good steering wheel, which feels nice in your hand and it's fairly big. You also have a digital cockpit. Like I said, you don't have a heads-up display and you cannot get that anywhere, which is unfortunate. That's going to be an option with the Polestar 3, which is going to be nice. So we do also have the Harman Kardon sound system in here, which is also 600 watts, sounds fairly decent. One thing I do like is that the infotainment display works with Android, so you do have a couple of options here like Spotify, YouTube, Google Maps, all works fairly nicely. One thing I do not like is Apple CarPlay is obviously, well not obviously, but it only works via USB. Two little USB-Cs down here, but they are fairly hard to open, so you have USB-C and also another USB-C there, and inductive loading there, which is also fairly nice. The gear select also looks pretty cool. You have like this hole in between, which looks pretty interesting with a nice illuminated logo in there. One thing I'm not the biggest fan of is this big center console, and one thing, it just makes it a little bit more claustrophobic in here. And you also don't have like an opening down here, which most electric cars have, so you don't actually have much storage space in here at all. The other thing that's nice about this car, which makes it a little bit more spacious, is the roof, because the roof in here is big and panoramic. You don't actually, well, you can't open it, that's why you don't have a middle bar as well. And you also have this like little space up here where there's also a Polestar logo in there, which is a nice little touch, and you can theoretically store something up there. If we take a look at the seats, you might not expect them to cost this much, but they cost 4,500 euros extra. These are ventilated and also heated, and they do feel really nice, but 4,500 euros, I cannot basically, I can't tell anybody to get that, because that's just a ludicrous price. With the Polestar Engineered Edition, we also get these golden seat belts, which is nice. Quality wise, again, you can see like a little bit of illuminated touch down here with this like wood touch trim, and all very, very nice. You do also have two cup holders in here, one in here and another one back here, which you can only use if you flip this up. But this thing also goes all the way down, so you can have it basically 90 degrees, which is pretty interesting. And again, the touch in the back with the panoramic roof, it just makes it look so more spacious, which is amazing. It's a really big one, and I like that. We can also see on the back, again, we have the same seats. Again, quality-wise, they're really nice, but 4,500 euros. I'm not sure about that. If we take a look at the door, we can also see basically the same quality as in front, which is nice, with the subwoof, the sound system of the Harman Kardon 600 watt in there, which is fairly decent. The windows in the back are actually fairly small, so your head is basically on eye level. I'm 1.80 m tall, or 5'11", and I don't know, it just feels really low. Headroom is also not that much, so if you're over like 185, 6'1", 6'2", you're most likely gonna hit your head on the back. But you can see legroom, very nice. Footroom is also fairly nice. You don't actually have that much thigh support on here, but it is okay. If you sit in here for a decent amount of time, it might get a little bit more, it might get a little bit uncomfortable. But these seats are also heated, which is nice in the back, and you also have a climate control in the center, which actually is pretty cool and very sturdy, good quality on there, and also 12 volt, not a 12 volt, it's two USB-Cs in here, which is nice. You get a little bit of storage space in here as well, but that's about it. Isofix points in here also nice and easy. You got this like little cap, don't actually know where to put it. You can maybe put it in there, but that is going to be an easy reach for your Isofix points. I'll get that later. And we can also see we do have a little bit of cupboard space in here with two cup holders in there. So one thing I was a little bit confused about is actually how to start the car, because I've never driven a Polestar before. But the way you just do it, you step in the car and you can just go press on your foot, press on the brake pedal, and you can just put it into D and you're gone. You don't actually have a separate start or stop button like in a Volvo where you switch like this thing around. You don't have that in here. Another thing that you now get standard with the new Polestar facelift is that you get your standard 360-degree camera, so that comes standard, which is very nice because that is going to help you a lot, and it basically works the same as in any other Volvo or Polestar. You just have the basic same function here because it's a Geely holding group, so it's part of that, so it's going to share a lot of Volvo features. You can definitely see that also in the steering wheel. You also, one thing I'm not the biggest fan of, that you don't have a heads-up display standard. You can't actually choose one, which is not the nicest. That would really help a lot and just make it feel a little bit more well, a little bit better. The infotainment display is also based on the Android system. As you can see, we have Google Maps and we have also YouTube on here, which is pretty cool. So you can just go in here and you can search for your favorite YouTuber, which is going to be non-stop driving. And it's only me, this guy beside me. Oh, wow, okay. Wow, what the hell did I just do? How do you spell it? Driving, there we go. And then you can obviously press on that and you can watch the videos while you're on here. Like we can look at the new Hatch plug-in hybrid video.
Welcome back to another video.
And actually works fairly nicely, so when you're stationary you can watch that, which is going to be pretty cool. But one thing that's not so cool is Apple CarPlay is not wireless. So you do have to connect it via USB cable, and I use it all the time, so it's not going to be, well, it's just easier if you just have it wirelessly. Standard-wise, you also now get your phone charger in here, so your cable or your wireless charging, you get that standard now as well, and some other things that we're going to talk about once we're actually driving here. And we also chose the best weather today for this event, so you can see it's wonderful. So it's going to be fairly hard to do actually, well, 0 to 100 test, or if we actually did it in a braking test. Yeah, you can see it's very, very nice out here. Let's quickly actually talk a little bit more about the standard features that you get now that are also new. For instance, you get your blind spot information assist system, which is now standard, or BLIS for short. That is also assisted via steering assist. You also get cross traffic alert now with brake assist and rear collision warning mitigation, which is also standard, as well as obviously the 360-degree camera and automatically dimming side mirrors, which is also very nice. We do also have a couple other safety features in here for adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist. Those come with the Pilot Plus package, or the Pilot package, which we could theoretically test out. You can see layout is basically the same as in any other Volvo, or Volvo in particular. And if we press on that, we can see we have adaptive cruise control, so we could press on that and now it's activated. So it's going to obviously adjust to the person in front, and we can lower that if we just go there. Actually, it does automatically change it as well. So if it sees the 50, it's going to slow down to that 50, which is very nice. And you can see it works very nice. We don't have anybody in front, so I can't really show you. We do also have the pilot assist, so if we press on that, that should activate it, but I think it's going to be, you can see there's so much water here. It's going to be fairly hard because I basically can't even see the lines in there for myself. If you would get the Polestar 3, however, you could get the wonderful LiDAR assist, so that might help you, especially in these conditions. Because we do have the Performance Plus package in here, we do get a little bit more of a sportier suspension, which is the Polestar engineered suspension, which you can definitely feel that you're driving in that, because it is just a little bit more harder on your butt, and in general you don't get very smooth. Well, it's fairly comfortable, but not as comfortable as some other, obviously, if you get the non-Polestar suspension. This just feels a little bit harder, and you'd also have a couple different modes in here, which is, for instance, your steering feel. It's in German right now, but you can, that basically means it's hard. That is hard, but you can definitely feel this is very direct. If you change that to, I should have turned right, damn it. If you put that on standard, it's very nice because you can definitely feel the difference between, if we put it to low, it definitely does feel a lot different, which is nice because in some other cars you change it and you're like, okay, that didn't really change anything. But I'm more of a fan of the hard version. I'm such a child. Because just feels more direct, and going around corners it just feels way nicer. You do also obviously have, well, not obviously, but you do have one pedal drive in here, which if you put it to standard, it definitely is a real one pedal drive, and you can feel a big difference between, oh, look at that wonderful Porsche. I'll totally let him in. You deserve to be let in. Yeah, but you can definitely feel a big difference between them, which is nice that you have that obviously in there as well. You do also have your, what is it actually called in English? Well, in German it's called Griechen. It's like the small step forward. You can turn that off and on, basically like auto hold. If you want to do that, you can obviously change that as well. We do also have the sport mode. If you go on there, it's going to turn off ESC with the 476 horsepower that we have in this version right here, which is the dual motor long range and performance package. That definitely does the kick with that 0 to 100 in 4.2 seconds. When we're driving in city, you can also see the surrounding view in here is actually fairly decent. We have a really small A-pillar, which is nice, and just the side mirrors, they look so nice with that blind spot assistant, which is going to help you a lot. But when you look out the back, I don't know if you can see it on GoPro, but the window is fairly small, and therefore you're not going to have the best visibility out the side. However, you do also have a fairly decent size C-pillar, which is going to help towards having not the best visibility out the back, but still with the 360-degree camera, it's completely fine. And I think the quality-wise, the visibility-wise, it's actually also completely fine. So because we do have the bigger battery in here, the 82 kilowatts an hour battery, and the performance package, we get a total range of around 568. That is a fuel consumption that is claimed, or fuel consumption, battery consumption, or electrical consumption, whatever you want to call it, of 16 kilowatts an hour. We are currently, if we take a look at this, we can see that we have over the last 153 kilometers, which is the total fuel or range that we've been driving today. But that is also due to the fact that there was some other people driving in here because press event and stuff like that. So we got 18.8 on average, which is fairly high, but you got to consider you're also driving a car with 476 horsepower, and most of them were driving a little bit sportier. We did a 0 to 100 test, brake test, stuff like that. We can also look at the one that we have right now. If we go over to the range assist, we can see just the one that or the information that you get at your current time. So we're currently using 31 kilowatts an hour battery, which is obviously a little bit much because we're accelerating. But we also have a claimed range, like I said, of 568. If we take a look at what we are currently at, we currently have 220 kilometers left. Okay, that's a little bit interesting because on here it says 220 kilometers and range on the, well, on there right now it says 300 kilometers with 63% left. So that does add up to the 550 if you round it up a little bit, which is fairly decent. Obviously, if you want to get the most range, you can get that 655 kilometers with the single motor dual long range, which is really, really good for the range that you get from that electrical car. Because we do have the Polestar Engineered Edition or the performance package, we can also theoretically go on here and let me quickly turn around the corner. We do have the ESC Sport mode, like I said, and we do have the different drive modes. You could, because this car does have a lot of power, you can go around here a little bit nicer, and it does really, really actually handle really well in the corners because of the weight distribution that we have, which is really nice because of electric car. You have the battery below, so you have a fairly good weight distribution, almost a 50-50. Actually, I'm not too sure if the Polestar 2 does have a perfect 50-50 like the Polestar 3, but it really does feel quite good around here. And 478 horsepower, you cannot complain about that because it really, or 476, it really pushes you straight away. And because an electric car, you just got that perfect acceleration out of the start, which is really, really nice. And while we're driving a little bit faster here, around 120 kilometers, let's talk a little bit about the noise from the outside. Obviously, it is raining, so everything is going to be a little bit louder currently. But the tire noise, that might be due to the rain, but it actually feels fairly loud. Otherwise, it's fairly well insulated, but the tire noise definitely seems fairly loud when driving here right now. We can't test the car because we only have it for around 4 hours or 3 hours, so I can't tell you when it's not wet. But the tire noise right now, you can hear it, is fairly loud. Obviously the rain is hitting the windshield, so the inside is going to be a little bit louder, but generally the sound in here is actually fairly decent. You can see right now it's getting a little bit louder. I don't know why, but yeah. Yeah, but the weather is obviously phenomenal today, and we're not even in freaking England. So what's my final verdict on the Polestar facelift version of 2024? Well, you actually get a ton of range, which is amazing, and a lot more horsepower, but it's also going to cost you a little bit more. But because there are some more standard editions that you get, or standard equipment, that is going to obviously cost a little bit more, but therefore you get a lot of range. If you really want range, 655 kilometers is a really good amount of range that you can get with 205 kilowatts charging speed, that's going to be very nice. And just the way it drives as well, and theoretically the performance you can get from it obviously feels really nice. And I personally do like the front design. In general, the design of the Polestar 2 just looks amazing in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think of the front design. Do you like it more than the previous one? Do you miss the fake grille, or do you like the Smart Zone better? Let me know down in the comments, and if you did like the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.